I'm Steph, and today we are walking through a sneak peek of my 2026 bullet journal. I'm going to show you how I initially set up and lay out my monthly and weekly pages, and then I'm going to show you some of the magazine collage that I've already curated for the year ahead. If you're new here, magazine collage is a really big part of how I design my bullet journals. It's just a really easy, low-skill way to get a nice visual effect, to evoke a lot of emotion, and I'm really excited about these images that I've chosen for the year. They already make me look forward to 2026. So I'm also doing something that I have never done before with a bullet journal, which is that I have decided to give 2026 a theme for the whole year. And that theme is that I want to be romanced by my life a bit, and not like romance like the way we think of it, like, you know, between a couple, but more everyday romance, like the romance of sunsets and hearing crickets chirp at night and seeing candlelight and watching snowfall, smelling fresh cookies come out of the oven, just all of those little everyday moments that make you feel like this is the good life. I am living, maybe I have problems, maybe I'm stressed out, but in this moment, I am just living the good life. I am romanced and charmed by my life right now. And I want to cultivate that feeling as much as possible in 2026. So that's my theme, and I've kind of curated my images to align with that theme. And I can't wait to show you more. So let's dive in.
This is Journaled by Steph, a YouTube channel all about bullet journaling. Thanks for watching. Okay, so let's go through the setup supplies. First, we have the journal, which I'll link in the description. I also like to use a couple different sizes of ruler, which you'll see me use both in this video. I also have a pencil with an eraser that I use to lay out things. Some black pens. This one's erasable, but I will also use a marker that's not erasable, plus a couple different styles of gold marker and pen. A quick note as we get started, here is a comparison of what a new journal looks like compared to one of my journals that is complete at the end of the year. So you can see there's quite a distinction in the thickness between the two, and that is because I use a lot of magazine collage. So I will show you that as we get a little farther into this video. The first thing I do with my blank journal is I count out the pages for the year. So what this means is I mark a couple pages for my year at a glance. I start labeling in the top corner with pencil the name of the month, whether it's the monthly calendar, the first week of that month, the second week of that month, the feature reflection spread of that month. So I just go through the entire journal, labeling all the pages and making sure that I have enough space for everything. The first spread that I'm going to set up is my year at a glance. This is where I write down ideas that I have for each month on the left, and then on the right, at the end of the month, I kind of do a recap and sort of compare how I thought the month would go versus how the month did go. So the first thing I do is mark out my space using, I just count my grid, use my pencil to make small marks, and then I come back through with my ruler and my pen to draw in my boxes. So I'm going to have 3 sets of boxes that go down each side of the page. Since there's 4 pages, that's 12 months. And then I'm going to label each of the boxes for the month of the year and then give it a title at the top. And here is an example of the full year at a glance, both spreads. The next page to set up is the monthly calendar. So again, I'm going to count out my calendar layout. Each month is a little different, so I use like Google Calendar just for a point of reference. I mark my spaces with my pencil, and then I go back through with my ruler and my pen and draw in each of the days for the monthly calendar. And here is an example of January 2026 all set up. The last section I have to set up are my weekly spreads. So there are 4 to 5 of these spreads per month. Each spread has 8 boxes, one for every day of the week, plus an extra for moments to remember. And like always, I mark them out with pencil, then come back through with my pen and my ruler, create the boxes, and then I follow through with the day of the week plus the date of the week. And because there are 52 weeks in a year, I do this 52 times. Here's a view of the template altogether. So first is my blank page for the annual cover, 2 year at a glance spreads. Then we move into the month. So this is the cover for January. We move to the monthly calendar spread. Next we have weekly spreads, so 4 to 5 of those depending on the month, followed by a final blank spread for the monthly reflection feature page. And then if you'll just think about this, multiplied by 12, and that is the entire journal. Now that we finally got all the boring stuff done, the setup, let's move into some of the visuals that I've set up for 2026, and you can get a preview of what's to come. So if you followed me for a while, you know that I use collage as a very strong design element in my bullet journals. And I do this because it creates a lot of color, it evokes a lot of emotion and energy, and it requires zero art skill from me. So I like to use collage in almost every page of the journal. And from an organizational standpoint, you can see that I just keep my magazines in these file folders, organized by season, and then I go through and curate images based on the season that we're in and set them aside for each month. So let's walk through what I've already done for 2026. Here is your sneak peek. First, we have a view of January's cover. This photo will set the whole tone for the month of January. And then I'm also flipping through and showing you some of the other images. This is the first page of the weekly spread. Those are pictures that I'm using for the feature monthly reflection spread. And then these are little peekaboo squares that I'll be using throughout each of the weeks and the weekly spreads in the month of January. And you notice these clippings are just tucked in here. This is my process of kind of getting everything laid out before I start adding things to pages. Next we have February. This is the cover that I've chosen for February. Lots of color, but still kind of a mountain lodge feeling. And again, very strong winter theme. I live in the Colorado West, so winter is still very snowy for us. I also love to feature citrus during the month of February. That's citrus season, and so I like to make sure that I have a few citrusy elements for the month. Cozy food, cozy scenes. Can't wait to set up February. Next we have March. I really like to have clean, warm neutrals for the month of March, and that's what you're seeing here. So again, I'm just tucking these collage clippings into the pages, and I'll go through and attach them later, probably videotape them for my page reveal videos. But March is usually a combination of a hint of spring, but we're not quite in spring yet. So lots of, like I said, warm, cozy neutrals. Next we have April, so I'm definitely going to start jumping into florals and green foliage, spring feeling for April, and that is for sure the theme that I'm going for. My eyes start to get really thirsty for green around this time of year. You'll see I've also prominently featured some pink. I like pink and green. I have washi tape that's pink and green that I'll often use during the spring season. So here is April, a peek at what's coming for the early beginning of spring. Now we have May, which is a continuation of April's spring theme. Lots of flowers. May is one of the first months where I get to start spending a lot of time outside on my back patio, and I like my journal to kind of reflect that opening up of outdoor living. And I am super excited for the year to warm as we get closer to summer. Now we're going to jump ahead. I'll show you June's cover, and then you're looking at July's cover. Next, we have August's cover, very summery. I can almost feel the heat coming off of that scene. Then we have September's cover, which to me is so Mountain West. This is how I just always want my Septembers to feel. Next, I have October's cover. I am planning in my mind already, putting a moon and some bats in that sky. Here is November's cover, very cozy, cabiny fire scene. And then last but not least, December's cover, a fun, merry Christmas tree. And that wraps up 2026.
Well, that concludes my 2026 sneak peek. I hope that this gives you an idea of how I get started with my journal setup, how I choose images for the year, and then especially for this year, kind of my intention and spirit behind it, my desire to be romanced by the year. So I'm excited for the new year. I know that we are still months away, but I do want to say that fall is a perfect time to start planning your planner, to start thinking about your goals, to start thinking about your themes. So hopefully maybe this inspires you to start having some of those thoughts, maybe make a mood board, maybe sit down with your journal and write out some thoughts and ideas. It is not too early to jump in to 2026. Last reminder, I do offer a free email newsletter over on Substack. It's called Journaled by Steph, and you can journal along with me. The emails are free. I send these videos out first before you see them anywhere else. And I also share throughout the month different things I'm journaling. I often have fun little digital bonuses. I share journal spreads that I don't make videos of. So it's just a fun place to keep the conversation about journaling going all year long. So I'll leave the link for that to join in the description of this video. I'd love to have you there. And I hope that you are already thinking about 2026. And I can't wait to count down the days until we get there. Talk to you soon. Bye.